Hello, I'm Jason Rugaard of the Movie Mavericks podcast. Welcome to a special summer show. Every Friday, I'll be taking a week-by-week look back at the summer of 1995. This was a box office season that was amongst the most competitive and influential in movie-going history. On each show, I'll be chronicling the performance, critical response, and historical relevance of the biggest hits and costliest misfires that shaped the summer of 1995. Episode 3, June 2nd to the 4th, 1995. Our first film is The Bridges of Madison County.
There are images that lie within my heart. Images with the power to recall the warmth of a summer's night. The stillness before a storm. Reminding me of the first time I ever saw him.
You go.
When he stopped and asked directions to Rosamond Bridge. A moment when there was nowhere else to go. Except towards love.
Tomorrow.
Warner Brothers presents the most passionately read love story of our time. Clint Eastwood, Meryl Streep, The Bridges of Madison County.
The 1990s were chock full of big-screen adaptations of best-selling novels. While names like Grisham, King, and Crichton were dominating the sales charts, the movies made from their works were conquering the box office charts. After the surprising success of Robert James Waller's novel, The Bridges of Madison County, studios were clamoring to turn the romantic story into a film. The eventual product hit cinemas on June 2nd and placed second for the weekend with $10.5 million, or $18 million adjusted. Just a few million shy of the top spot, despite playing on 1,000 fewer screens than Casper, which placed first for the second consecutive weekend. The pairing of Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep was an inviting proposal to adult audiences, and Bridges managed a total gross of $71 million, or around $122 million today. The film stayed in the top 10 for 7 weeks and held its own despite heavy competition in the upcoming weeks. As early as 1991, Steven Spielberg was interested in turning Waller's novel into a movie after the book sold an astonishing 10 million copies. Spielberg would eventually move on to other projects, and Sidney Pollack was attached for a short time, before Eastwood stepped in as a director and star. The movie was shot in 42 days, 10 less than its scheduled 52 days, and way under budget. The healthy box office returns provided Warner Brothers with a modest hit before its much-anticipated Batman sequel would shatter box office records a few weeks later. Bridges was well liked by the critical community, with some even suggesting that Eastwood's film outshined the rather flimsy source material. Despite these types of ravings, the movie failed to garner any attention from the Academy. This seems particularly unusual, as Streep is virtually nominated every time out. Regardless, Bridges is a minor film with a big heart, which was well received by critics and audiences of its era.
Now it's time for our video pick of the week, and my choice this week is Clint Eastwood's adaptation of The Bridges of Madison County, new on home video this week. And ever since it was released last summer, I've sung the praises of Meryl Streep's performance of the lonely Iowa housewife. But now that the film is being released on home video, I want to point out another excellent element: Clint Eastwood's direction, specifically his direction of the film's climactic sequence when Meryl Streep's character finds herself in a truck with her distant husband. Bridges of Madison County, with two big talents at the top of their form, my video pick of the week.
Our next film is Tales from the Hood.
In this neighborhood is a house where souls never rest. You're invited to share their secrets.
I've been waiting for you boys.
You're invited to share their tales.
Unless, of course, you're scared.
Tales of madness. Of revenge.
The dolls don't want you there. They want reparation.
Of horror.
He thinks he needs to kill the monster.
Now, your most terrifying nightmare and your most frightening reality are about to meet on the streets.
And this is a trip, homie. I don't need nothing from no house of dead folks, okay?
Death, it comes in many strange packages.
The producer of Menace to Society and executive producer Spike Lee will take you to the outer limits of the inner city.
Welcome to hell.
Tales from the hood. Chew. Or be chewed.
Hey, man, I don't need to be hearing this, man.
Written and produced by Darren Scott. Written and directed by Rusty Cunda.
Opening in the 10th spot was Tales from the Hood, with $4 million, or around $6.5 million adjusted. This is fairly impressive considering that it was screened in less than 1,000 theaters nationwide. Its $12 million total, around $20 million today, exceeded its modest $6 million budget and returned a tidy profit to distributor Savoy Pictures. Mixing horror and the gangster film of the era, Tales features 4 short stories bookended by a prologue and epilogue featuring Clarence Williams as a stand-in for the Crypt Keeper of HBO's hit series Tales from the Crypt. The accompanying soundtrack provided equally successful as it sold over 500,000 units, going gold in the United States. A follow-up film was talked about for many years and finally materialized in 2018, but to much less acclaim and audience interest. For a while, Tales was considered out of print, but Scream Factory released a Blu-ray version in 2018. So for those looking for an amusing, gory, and often compelling mix of Menace to Society and Blackula, then Tales from the Hood is your movie. That'll do it for today's show. Join me next week when I look back at the release of the Michael Crichton adventure thriller, Congo. Thanks for listening.